Analyses Atheism.
Hello and welcome. Next, it's Dennett. We're gonna go for Dennett. Daniel Dennett. This is one of the four horsemen. The four horsemen, Dogma Dawkins, Daniel Dennett. Here we have them. Let's see, four horsemen. Let's see if we can find it here. New Atheism, the New Atheists. 2006. The atheist academics, writers, scientists, and philosophers of the 21st century. The four horsemen are the end of faith, religion, terror, and the future of reason by Sam Harris. Letter to the Christian Nation from Harris. The Root of All Evil, Richard Dawkins. Tom Flynn, Free Inquiry, okay. Mitchell Landsberg, The Four Horsemen, this is it here. So these are the four horsemen, and Dennett is one of them. We're going to try to analyze his speech here. Let's try to go over it. Maybe I'm dumb as heck and don't know anything about anything, but I'm going to try. At least I'm going for it.
Dan, I would really like to know whether God exists, and I've been asking a lot of smart people questions about God and about arguments here and all that. And most of the people who don't believe in God would seek to attack and undermine the arguments of those who do. Fine. I'd like to flip that around and say, what are the affirmative arguments for non-belief or for atheism?
Well, I think the first one, it simply has to be, this is the way naturalism always argues. I mean, the burden of proof is sort of on the other side. That don't multiply entities beyond necessity.
Don't multiply entities beyond necessity. He seems to be quoting something that is like a, don't multiply entities beyond necessity. Yeah, that's Occam's razor. So the Occam's razor is a principle of theoretical economy and parsimony that states entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. It is often cited as entia non sunt multiplicanda praeter necessitatem, okay, which translates to entities must not be multiplied beyond necessity. However, William of Ockham never used these exact words. The principle is presumably to be interpreted qualitatively rather than quantitatively. Thus, OR, do not multiply types of entity beyond necessity. The principle gives precedence to simplicity of two competing theories. The simpler explanation of an entity is to be preferred. Okay. So this is Occam's razor. It's been used by many atheists. Yeah. Alright. So he's quoting Occam's razors as a affirmative argument, or pointing out that Occam's razor has been used to disprove theism because the burden of proof is on the theists.
So the main reason for atheism is what for? What do we need God for? Especially since
the atheists say, what do we need God for? And what I have often heard is like, God is a concept like the Easter Bunny. God is like Santa Claus. God is like horrible in the Old Testament and good in the New Testament. He's very judgmental, very evil, very obsessed with sex. Yeah. But that is not God, is it?
Since we've got a surfeit of reasons for seeing why, in the absence of a God, we would nevertheless believe in God. I mean, there's plenty of natural arguments explaining why this false belief would arise. So we don't have the puzzle of, gosh, where there's smoke, there's fire, where there's so much belief that God must exist. No, I think we can just set that aside. So now
As neutral.
As neutral, yeah. So that cuts no real ice here. So now the question is, if there's no positive argument for the existence of God, then we should just assume there isn't one. For the same reason, we should assume that there isn't a Gog. What's Gog? Well, it's a sphere of copper 2 miles in diameter with the word Gog stamped on it. And it's outside the light cone.
So we can never see it.
Yeah. We have no reason to posit its existence, so we might just well assume it doesn't exist.
So
Okay. Isn't that a kind of a straw man if you think about it? It's very easy to attack this Gog that has a Gog stamped on it. But what is God? What I've read is that it's, once you name it, it disappears. And when I've meditated and gone deep into prayer, then I've seen a molecule that when you look at it, it changes. You see it's in a certain shape, and then you look at it in your mind's eye and it changes, it shifts. It's like it doesn't want to be seen. It's like a hide and seek kind of element. And it's generating this whole existence. Yet it doesn't want to be seen. For me, that is God. Like the one who doesn't want to be evidence-based, who doesn't want you to see him, because he wants you to find him without having any evidence of him. So it's like a completely losing game for a theist to try to debate these things for an evidence-based entity. The substance, the thing that is infusing the atom with an intelligence. Now, not a thing, the deity that is infusing the substance with consciousness. It is in the trees, it is in everything, and you can spot it in pretty much everywhere. But if you're close to it, you don't see it. It's very hard to see it if you don't believe. I think I have to show the audience here you, Dr. Dean Radin, because they put people in groups when they're trying to study the unstudyable. Does voodoo dolls work? Do astral projections work? Holy water, does that work? So they had to have a study and the placebo effect. Like, what is that? When you believe that you are eating a pill that is going to heal you, but it's just a sugar pill. But the pharmaceutical companies have to prove beyond the that point of the, like they have to go above this effect in the body. That's why they have a study group where some of the people that are getting it are not getting the real pill. Getting a brain fart. Oh, what was I talking about? It's too difficult to comprehend so early in the morning. More cacao. Placebo. There's a certain amount of people that will heal themselves if they're getting a placebo. The pharmaceutical companies have to go over that point to prove that their drugs or medicine is working. That's my point. So if you strip the entity of the belief, I keep doing the 666 sign, sorry. It's just a habit of mine. I'm trying to do like this. I always do like this, and it's stupid. Al dente. But, yeah. My point is that if you don't believe, then reality appears in a different way than to the person who believes. Simple.
The core concept is that the burden is on the other side.
Yeah.
That somebody has to come up with an affirmative burden, a proof of God in order for us to see it, because that is the best argument for atheism.
Well, maybe if we want some further reinforcement on this, if you understand that God is supposed to be good and supposed to be all-powerful, then the problem of evil really looms. And evil is everywhere, and it's not...
That is the whole trick about Christianity that makes much more sense. It's like if you use this analogy of what is going on, saying that God is all good and all powerful, but why is evil evil? Why, and where does evil come from? If God is all powerful and all that. But if you extract the infusement of this entity that is invisible, he cannot do anything. He's like, you're playing Fortnite and there's a channel that you've just muted, which is God talking to you, telling you and giving you advice of what to do, but you've muted him. And if this and he can, that's the only way he can communicate with you, is through this Bluetooth channel or web headset that is, you have to find the button to unmute him to hear him. But you're just in this Fortnite game, you're in this reality, and God tries to put obstacles in your way to try to help you, try to understand what's going on. You get the same issues over and over and over again if you're doing the same bad things over and over and over again, for instance. But that is the thing that I see, is like God has relieved completely his control. He's not going to do anything. And because God gave us Eden, and therefore we fell out of Eden when the original sin happened, because Eve was tricked by the snake to eat the apple and tell Adam to eat the apple, so they were expelled from Eden, so they had to have children, and then they had to grow. And that is kind of like the origin story, even though you don't take it like 100% literally. It's like a story of something that happened in the beginning that could have transpired in this way. Then that story proves to us that there is a fallen state that we are in. And therefore, that is due to the fallen angel of Satan. And Satan is this evil entity that makes you want to do evil for him. And this is kind of his domain. He can make things real for you if you believe in him, and if you summon him, and if you do witchcraft, and you do occult stuff, and you pray to Satan. He's going to appear in a much stronger way for you. because he wants to make you suffer and be depressed and go through hell and lose your soul, because he wants to get souls from God to him or her, whatever you how you gentrify it, whatever it is. But the story is that I think this is a kind of a straw man, because it's not kind of true what he's saying.
Just evil so that we can be heroes and triumph over evil. That makes a good story, and it makes our lives more exciting and all that. But what about the extraordinary brutality that we discover in the animal world when we find insects that sort of hypnotize their prey and then burrow inside and lay their eggs, and then the eggs eat them out from the inside while they're still alive.
What if that is like a version of hell, that your consciousness can awaken in that state? Like you become a tick and your whole laborious journey is to find another mammal to suck the blood out of. Yeah. It's like if you look at the chaotic aspects of the world, then of course you can lose your faith in God very quickly. But there is this element, like water can give you energy, but it can also drown you. Fire can give you heat, but it can also burn you. So there seems to be certain laws to this reality that if you wisen up and you use your intelligence, you can figure out how to react to it in the right way. And that is wisdom, being wise.
There's all sorts of gruesome tales of this sort that we could tell about things that, as we're animals, do to each other. And why would a good God allow such horrible things to go on? I think that evil is, you can't explain it away. And it doesn't have, as it were, a dramatic purpose.
Well,
it exists because it can.
The argument that
it exists because it can.
Is that evil is divided into two parts, the moral evil and the natural evil, according to certain theologians. And the moral evil is to enable some kind of free will. There's a lot of different complications, but the free will defense is generally the one given there. Natural evil is harder for them to deal with, granted, because that doesn't, there's no free will involved, so nobody cares about the human spirit or whatever. And there are a bunch of arguments that the probabilistic world and things have to go that way. And
well, those do strike me as from hunger, fairly desperate argument.
Yeah, but that's a fallacy. Like, that's the true Scotsman fallacy. Like, there's no true arguments. But considering the evidence that we have, natural evil exists. Is there any good then? If we just base it on that. If evil exists and it's visible in the world, is there good? And what is this good then? Why is this good? And why do you have a better ability to understand the good than the animal? You get where I'm trying to lead the thinking process. If evil exists, and we can prove the existence of evil in the world, and if you just take this guy and you look at his past, Dennett, Dawkins, Epstein, let's check that out. Go to the images. So here is this guy in the Epstein plane on his way to a TED with Dawkins and Pinker, you know. These are all atheists. And one of the gags from Epstein was to try to get, and we know this guy too here, Lawrence Krauss and Pinker and Epstein. And this guy is like the worst person on the planet, according to what has been said about him, and we have heard about him. So if there's evil in the world, and we are actually looking at an agent of evil, does that change how you look at this person while he's speaking, trying to prove the non-existence of God? I'm just asking a question. I'm not trying to create a straw man or trying to go into ad hominem attack. I don't want to go there. But we have to consider, when watching somebody who is pushing for atheism in the world, what is the a priori agenda? If you look at the a posteriori of the things that they have done in the past, and you try to understand their intention, what is their intention? Are they hiding something? Is there something that has happened causing them to try to go in front of others and try to prove that God doesn't exist? Good is therefore not something to try to achieve in reality. What then?
Arguments. We have to remember that the idea that God is good is a fairly recent domestication of religion. There were plenty of bad gods in the early days, and this is a recent refinement. And of course, the problem of evil just disappears if you go back to the old religions, because we have good gods and bad gods, and they're duking it out. And there's something very satisfying about that. And once you decide to get rid of the bad gods and be monotheistic and suppose that God is good, then you have this nasty problem of explaining why then all this evil happens.
You're not arguing to go back to the old ways, are you?
Well, I think there was a certain dramatic integrity to them that is missing from the more recent ideas of God.
Dramatic integrity. What were we looking at earlier? And I think Epstein was celebrating this guy. This entity, this Baphomet. Coagulate and dissolve is like the thing that they're talking about in this religion. And this is the satanic temple's part, you know. And it's glorified. And it has breasts. And it has a penis. So the more atheistic you are, then you can be deceived into becoming something that God created that you are you're opposed to. So like we're looking at a cause of something in the human, I believe, that benefits, what did he say? Some dramatic integrity to them that is missing.
To them that is missing from the more recent ideas of God. You know, when I can't remember their names, the people that created the comic book character Superman, they realized they had a problem. They had this omnipotent, indestructible agent, and how can there be suspense? How can there be any storylines? They had to invent kryptonite. They had to invent kryptonite so that there would be a countervailing force in the world. And I view theologians' attempts to handle the problem of evil as this is just kryptonite, and it's one understands why it's necessary as a sort of.
Is it kryptonite for God, or is it kryptonite for men?
dramatic device, but I can't take it seriously in any other way.
Some theologians would try to harmonize an all-good God with an all-powerful God, that those two concepts, and that's a tough one. Other theologians have now come along and to say, okay, we really can't do that, so we have to compromise one or the other.
Yep.
And in general, what they do is they diminish the all-powerful, and they somehow say that there was part of God that is from antiquities or everlasting, that is unchanging, and then but there's part of God that's open and uncertain.
He's done the best he can.
And so then it's possible to do in order to maintain this relationship with the free agents. And so they diminish the all power and therefore eliminate the inconsistency.
Well, but in your own telling, it sounds to me like a storyboard conference at Superman Comics. How are we going to solve this problem? Well, let's see. If we tone down the omnipotence a little bit, then we'd be back in business. All right, let's do it. But the idea that little innovation of theirs is answerable to anything other than their own sense of consistency is, to me, just incredible. I mean, right, they're trying to tell a consistent story, and they're playing by some pretty tough rules. They've tied both hands behind their backs, and this is the best they can come up with. But what does that have to do with what's true? It's just how to tell a story.
Other arguments that have been used affirmatively for atheism, I'd like to get your take on them, are things like that if God is so, wants me to believe, why is he so hidden, the hiddenness of God?
Yep.
Another is that if God is a mind, we've never seen a mind outside of an embodied form. Are these
How do you see a mind? I've seen a mind in plants. I have a garden here outside, and there are these plants that we planted. There are beans. And what they're doing is, when they go up, they start rotating around, trying to find something to grasp, and then they start wrapping around it. And I've done it for a few years. And there's a consistency, because if there are 4 plants together, they will try slowly to find each other, even if you put them far away. You know, it's not just because they randomly hit each other and start winding it around each other. It's also when one of them finds the part where they can climb up here, and one of them finds part where they can climb up here, they will still try to find each other, try to lead their way up together. So there's this gravity thing that is unexplained. The theory of gravity, okay, that's a theory. But why is there gravity? That's not answered. Why do plants have a mind that tries to find the sun and bloom? So the mind is visible, even though it is out there in the nature. Like wasps have a mind, therefore they sting you. They react. It's not just impulses based on something. And that is the theory the evidence behind holy water. And if you're interested in this, try taking rice that you have boiled, the extra rice, boiled rice, put them in separate jars, close the jars, have them consistently the same, and then put them in the fridge, and for 30 days, every day, take one of the jars and scream at it, angry, horrible, negative stuff. And then you take the other one and you say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and you feel the love for your child or for your mother or for whomever you feel real love for, and you say the same thing, and you imagine this rice is that. And for 30 days, just do this and see what happens. It works. It's amazing. Your words are magic. So if you infuse your ether that comes out of your throat, that the lungs create, and you infuse it with the intention of love, and matter, atoms, react to it. If that isn't proof that there's a mind outside there, I don't know what. And it even works if you don't believe it. That's the weird part. Try it.
These arguments good philosophical arguments for atheism?
Well, they are against people who hold the positions that they're addressed to. So if somebody really holds a position where God has a mind, and I think actually most people who believe in God do.
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
why are they praying? To whom are they praying if God doesn't have a mind? Then I think they're legitimate arguments.
Like, what is the mind? An atheist has a mind. What is it? Is it the collection of the senses, the sense data that is coming in and creating a reality around you that you can remember? What is this mind that makes you dream during the night? And God has a mind. What if God is the mind? What if the soul has a connection to the mind? Same as the body does. These are questions that open you up for the high resolution reality of life. To stop having the, I go to work, I eat this, I jack off to watching this, or sleep with my wife or girlfriend, or polyamory, or whatever the thing that you do that is your habits today. If you just go out of the low resolution of living, and you go out of that state, you step out of the river that is making you float towards the sea when you die, and you just watch that the river isn't actually going to the sea, it's going in a circle, and everybody's going through the year, and it's a month, and everybody gets drunk on Fridays, and then on Saturdays, and then they go hungover on Sundays, and they miss church, and they can't go to church because they're hungover, and then they are sick on Mondays because they ate too much bad stuff on Sunday or whatever, and then it's a vicious circle that we're in, and we can get out of that in order to step out of the patterns that are making us this entity that we think we are. And the mind is so easily just taken for granted, is my point here.
What we have to face, though, is that there's a sort of shell game. Can I not mean that disparagingly? Yes, I suppose. In the neutral sense, there's a shell game in which people who believe in God use richly personal language to talk about God, and when you say, wait a minute, and you start criticizing or asking them questions about, oh, we didn't mean anything as crass as that. No, God doesn't have hands, doesn't have fingernails, doesn't have eyes, but he sees us. Yeah. Well, in what sense? Oh, don't ask these questions. And so they back off from the inconsistency.
Well, yeah. That makes sense. But when you close your eyes, do you still dream? Do you see? Do you smell something in your dream? Do you use your senses in your dreams? Do you find it difficulty running away in a dream? When something is following you? What is this mind? And how powerful is it?
To a God which ends up being an incomprehensible spirit of goodness. Do I believe in an incomprehensible spirit of goodness? I don't know, maybe. Wouldn't pray to it. It wouldn't be he. And maybe there's an incomprehensible spirit of badness too, and don't see any reason to believe in it, but if you do, then at least you maybe find a consistent position.
Yeah. Yeah, he seems to be very articulate and smart and nice. He has a nice smile, you know? Very attractive when he smiles and speaks. But I believe, like, I feel, I have this instinct that there's something off, you know? When he's saying that the theists are very personal when they talk about, no, he doesn't have fingernails, no, he doesn't have hands, you know, this thing makes you wonder, like, is he speaking of the thing that he believes in accidentally, or the act of not believing in the good spirit that he wouldn't call a he? Maybe he believes in it, maybe not. Maybe it's very convenient for him not to believe that there is any good in the world. That it's all just about power and oppression and controlling others and being the smartest one in the room, you know? The hedonistic ways of living. Makes you wonder. But he calls himself one of the four horsemen, and that makes me wonder. Could have chosen something else. But this was from Closer to Truth, an excellent channel. I highly recommend his videos. He never names himself, I think. But closertotruth.com, and he's the questionnaire in every video. And he talks to Roger Penrose in another movie. No, in another video we made. But thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, comment if you want to. But try to stay out of the ad hominem attacks, you know. I'm just trying to do something with my life that is positive and helpful for others. So take that into account if I trigger some anger within you. Thank you. Ha det är bra.